I came across this story and thought it would be meaningful to share as a reminder of the true spirit of the holidays. You see, 13-year-old Frank Wilson wasn't happy. Despite receiving all the gifts that he wanted and enjoying the usual Christmas Eve celebration with his family. You see, this was the first Christmas without his brother Steve, who died in a car accident earlier that year. Frank deeply missed the companionship of his brother. So after the family gathering, Frank told his parents he was going to leave early to visit a friend, and then he'd walk home afterward. It was cold outside, so Frank put on his favorite gift, a new plaid jacket, and he loaded the other presents onto his new sled. He headed toward the flats, a poorer part of town, to visit his Boy Scout leader. Frank admired this leader who lived humbly and worked odd jobs to support his family. Unfortunately, the leader wasn't home. So as Frank walked through the neighborhood, he noticed decorations in the small houses. One window revealed a shabby room with limp stockings over an empty fireplace. A woman sat nearby weeping. The sight reminded Frank of the stockings he and his brothers used to hang together. They would always wake up to find them bursting with gifts. Suddenly, Frank remembered that he hadn't done his good deed for the day. So acting on impulse, he knocked on the door. The woman answered, her voice tinged with sadness. Seeing his sled full of gifts, she assumed he was collecting donations. "I'm sorry, I have no food or gifts for you. I've not even got anything for my own children," she said. "Well, that's not why I'm here," Frank replied. "Please, choose whatever presents you'd like for your children." The woman, astonished, gratefully selected candies, a toy airplane, a puzzle, and a game. When she took the Scout flashlight, Frank hesitated, but then he let her have it. Finally, the stockings were full. "Won't you tell me your name?" she asked. "Just call me the Christmas Scout," Frank said. Walking away, Frank felt a flicker of joy. He realized his sadness wasn't unique. Others also carried sorrow. Before leaving the flats, he gave away the rest of his gifts, and even his plaid jacket, to a shivering boy. Cold and uneasy, Frank trudged home, worrying about his parents and what they would say. "Where are your presents, Frank?" his father asked as he walked in. "I gave them away," Frank replied quietly. His parents were surprised and upset. "But Frank, how could you be so impulsive?" his mother asked. "How will we explain this to the relatives who spent so much time and care shopping for you this year?" His father added, "You made your choice, Frank. We can't afford any more presents." Feeling isolated, Frank wondered if he'd find any joy again. He hadn't expected a reward for his generosity. He believed a good deed was its own reward. But now he felt lonely and unsure. Thinking of his brother, he cried himself to sleep. The next morning, Frank awoke to the sound of Christmas music on the radio. His parents were listening as the announcer shared a story. "The nicest Christmas story we have comes from the flats. A crippled boy received a new sled last night left by an anonymous teenager. Another child now has a warm plaid jacket, and several other families report their children were delighted by gifts from someone who called himself the Christmas Scout. No one knows who he is, but many believe he was a representative of Santa Claus himself." Frank felt his father's arm around his shoulders and saw his mother smiling through her tears. "Why didn't you tell us, Frank?" his father said gently. "We didn't understand, but we're so proud of you." Frank's heart swelled with warmth, the first he had felt since losing Steve. At last, he understood the true spirit of Christmas, a love that heals and gives even in sorrow. I hope this story inspires you as it's inspired me to spread kindness and to make a difference in someone's life. As an ancient proverb reminds us, if there are poor among you, do not be selfish or greedy toward them, but give freely to them and freely lend them whatever they need. May you experience the joy of enriching others' lives this Christmas, whether they are family, Neighbors or strangers, we all know someone who could use a little encouragement, help, or generosity. Merry Christmas.